They were not composed altogether of flesh and blood. They had shape, but that shape was not made of matter. When the stars were right, they could plunge from world to world through the sky, but when the stars were wrong, they could not live. But although they no longer lived, they would never really die. They all lay in stone houses in their great city of R'lyeh, preserved by the spells of mighty Cthulhu. Cthulhu. What is there to say about this Lovecraftian horror, other than it is the most well-known, most feared, and perhaps the most destructive of Lovecraft's monsters? Cthulhu's appearance sometimes changes between stories, but is often portrayed as a towering creature that is vaguely humanoid, with a squid-like face often described as resembling that of a kraken, and large wings that resemble that of mythical dragons. His appearance is what can be described as aquatic, a description that stems from his green fish-like scales and his overall appearance resembling that of a squid. In addition, Cthulhu is massive in size, reportedly being larger than the largest mountain on the planet, that being Mount Everest, standing at 8,848 miles high in elevation. However, this appearance is only what people, specifically his cult, perceive him as. Cthulhu's power is so feared that when he first made contact with mankind, the early citizens of Earth quickly saw Cthulhu as a god. Legend has it, Cthulhu made these early believers immortal, so that they could continue its legacy. These early believers of the deity would then form a cult, often described as a worldwide doomsday cult, that just so happens to be reportedly centered in Arabia. Moreover, the immortal believers mentioned earlier are now the cult's leaders, and now take residence in the mountains of China. This cult also just so happens to be nihilistic, like most other cults. And their ultimate goal is to reawaken the Great One, more on that soon, and bring an apocalyptic dark age to the world. A dark age that results in nothing but shouting and killing each other in fits of madness. Moreover, Cthulhu is also worshipped by lesser beings, such as the Deep Ones and Migo, as well as other aliens from Lovecraftian tales. The reason so many follow Cthulhu is out of fear, as it is an extremely destructive force with insane capabilities and powers. Although Cthulhu may not be as powerful as some of the other great ones, like Yog-Sathoth or Azathoth, it is still a malevolent and powerful one. Cthulhu is practically immortal, has immense physical strength, and can withstand tons of abuse, enduring mountains upon mountains of pain and damage. In fact, the only way Cthulhu could be stopped is by a near omnipotent power, such as the power of another great one. It also has the ability to fly, as a result of its enormous wings. Moreover, despite seeming like a mindless creature, Cthulhu is far from that. Cthulhu has a vast, almost unbeatable intellect, and has the ability to know all in the universe. Having a third eye of sorts, Cthulhu is capable of knowing everything that occurs in the universe at once. It also seems to possess a great deal of psychic abilities, capable of telekinesis and telepathy. Moving on, one ability it shares with the rest of its kin is the ability to induce madness into living creatures. Because it is a cosmic entity, it cannot be comprehended by humans, so if one laid eyes upon Cthulhu, they would most likely be sent into a catatonic state or sent into madness. Lastly, one of the more interesting abilities it possesses is the ability to conjure up creations out of thin air. Cthulhu demonstrated this ability in its early visit to Earth, conjuring up a city known as R'lyeh. On the topic of Cthulhu's past, let's discuss its history. Located far away in the 23rd Nebula is the planet Vor, the planet Cthulhu could call his birthplace. From there, sometime down the line, Cthulhu went on to spawn its offspring near the star Zoth. Cthulhu, along with its star spawn and children, made their way to Saturn, where some remained, and then to Earth. It is there Cthulhu landed on the coast of the Pacific Ocean, and where he conjured up the city of R'lyeh. However, when Cthulhu made home on the planet, he was met with ill intent from the other Elder Things that already lived there, and it was then the two factions waged war against another. They went on for millennia, until a truce was formed. It was then that Cthulhu would be betrayed and sent into a comatose state, forever to remain in slumber. However, it wouldn't be long that humans would evolve and make their residence on the planet. Despite Cthulhu remaining dormant, he would contact many of these early humans through dreams, and this interaction resulted in the so-called Cult of Cthulhu. Most of them would move into the city of R'lyeh, but after a few years, tragedy struck and sunk the entire city into the ocean, where Cthulhu remained dormant. Although, this would not be the end of Cthulhu. Many of its followers still lived, and they continued to prepare for the supposed resurrection/awakening of Cthulhu. And it is fated that alongside Cthulhu's awakening, the city of R'lyeh would rise again, signaling the end of the world, and the new era where Cthulhu and the other great ones will rule again. Cthulhu is an infamous creature, if I do say so myself. It's also a very interesting one. I'm always in awe of these kind of monsters, because I think they offer more than your average zombie or vampire. Cosmic entities, like Cthulhu, are just much more intriguing, and leave a lasting impact. That much is evident by the big following the creature actually has. And I'm not talking about its cult. Cthulhu is a popular entity in pop culture today. The deity made its way to shows like Rick and Morty, was even in South Park, served as an inspiration for Dagomon in Digimon and Vilgax in Ben 10, and was in the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy, and of course it made its way into other popular shows. The creature also made its way into films like The Last Lovecraft, Relic of Cthulhu, and of course the film The Call of Cthulhu, alongside other films. Aside from TV and movies, the monster also made its way into video games. Most notably, the games Cthulhu Saves the World, Etrian Odyssey 3, The Drowned City, Flappy Monsters of Lovecraft, was the inspiration for the Amygdala and Brainsucker in Bloodborne, made an appearance as a skin for the character Zenyatta. The Shadow Man, a character in Shadows of Evil campaign, is revealed to be the manifestation of Cthulhu in Call of Duty Black Ops 3, and is the basis for the game's Call of Cthulhu, although that one is based more on Lovecraft's tale The Shadow over Innsmouth, and the upcoming remake of the same name. Funny enough, Cthulhu made its way over to music too, some notable songs being From the Deeps from 1349, and Behind the Wall of Sleep by Black Sabbath. To close this out, I just want to say that if this video was at all interesting to you, I highly encourage you to keep looking into the Cthulhu mythos, as it is very extensive and very well detailed, and most of all, just a fun read. Well, with that done, I say we get on to this video's little factoid. Did you know? There are actually a few cults based on the Cthulhu mythos. They claim that Lovecraft had been contacted by Cthulhu himself, and all his stories are real. The biggest cult being unoriginally titled, The Cult of Cthulhu.